Welcome everyone. Stephanie Lee here, Evidential Medium, giving my monthly book review. Books that have inspired me along my spiritual journey of mediumship. March's book review is Rising Strong. I mean, this is so good. So we are on week 3, and I'll do a little tiny recap. So Rising Strong is about being in the arena of life, falling down in the arena, and how do you get back up? How do you rise strong and keep moving forward? So last week we talked about the first step of the Rising Strong process, which is curiosity. And then this week is the rumble. I think I'm kind of getting that from that WWE let's get ready to rumble. That's where I must get that from. Anyway, so the rumble this is where we get honest about the stories that we've made up about all of our struggles and all of the things that trigger us, and where you poke the bear and you get that feeling of emotion where you just don't like it, right? So she wants you to revisit, challenge, check your narratives, dig into these topics such as boundaries, shame, blame, resentment, heartbreak, generosity, and forgiveness. My very favorite story that she tells about the rumble has to do with judgment and self-righteousness. So Brene is on her way to give a speech, doing some pro bono work. She's done this before with this particular group. She gets there and she checks into the hotel, and they say, well, she thinks she's going to get a single room. And what she didn't realize is that this event, all the speakers were having to double up in rooms. So she's like, really? And she's like, okay, fine. So she gets outside the room and she's like, please, Lord, let this, be a good match for me. And she opens the door and says hello, and the woman in the room is on the couch with her dirty shoes up on the couch eating a cinnamon roll. And so she ooches herself over to kind of sit up with the roll, and she finishes the cinnamon roll and proceeds to wipe her hand all over the couch instead of using a napkin. Licks her fingers, wipes again, does the whole bit, right? So right there, Brene's like, whoo, trigger. I'm self-righteous, judgment, all of that, right? Like, how dare you? You should know better, right? So then, and it gets better, get excited. So the woman decides to go out on the very small balcony and smoke, which the entire hotel is smoke-free. And Brene says, you realize this is a smoke-free hotel? And, the woman is ignoring her. And so the story goes on to say that she went to do her speech the next day and immediately jetted for the airport and was still fuming and judging all the people in the airport. She was still so mad. She was just judging everybody, right? And she knew there was an issue. She knew she had to get curious about what it was that was really bothering her about what had just happened. So immediately she gets on the plane and she calls her therapist and makes an appointment, which I think is awesome, that she realizes that she needs to do something about the issue that is arising. Okay, so she gets to the therapist and she goes through the whole story again, mud on the couch from the shoes, and the icing from the cinnamon thing, and the smoking, and the blah blah blah, and just on, and she's just fuming. And so the therapist, doing her job, says, do you think that this person is doing the best that they can with the tools that they have, right there? Do you think that she was doing the best that she could? And of course, Brene is still in I'm pissed off, fuming mode, and internally saying, what in the hell did you just ask me? How could she have been doing her best? There's no way. And she basically left the therapist in a huff, left the appointment in a huff. And then she started getting curious, because she knows that if she says, self-righteousness starts with the belief that I'm better than other people. And it always ends with me being my very worst and thinking I'm not good enough, which I thought was really, really interesting. So she starts to go into her research mode, because that's what she's used to. She's going to go and get the tools that she knows how to use, and she's going to start asking people. So she asks like 10 people, do you think that people are doing the very best that they can? And I think like 8 of them said yes, and like 2 of them said no. And so she's like, okay, I got to get more. So she starts asking all these other people. And I think she asked like 40 more people. And the majority of them said, yes, I think people are doing the very best that they can. She gets home that night, she's done all this research, she still can't believe what she's hearing, and she says, oh my gosh, I haven't asked Steve, my husband. I haven't asked Steve. She writes about Steve in her books. I haven't asked Steve this question. And Steve says, and I love Steve's answer, Steve says, I don't really know. All I know is that my life is better when I assume that people are doing their best, because it keeps me out of judgment, and it lets me focus on what it is that I need to do and not on should or would or could, right? So he just said, I'm not sure, but as long as I assume that they are, then it keeps me from judging them. So if you just take people as to where they are right then and there, that very moment when you're having the conversation with them, or they're wiping the cinnamon on the icing on the couch, or dirtying the couch, take them from right. You don't know what happened. You don't know what's happening in their lives. You don't know what happened that morning when they woke up. You don't know what happened last week. You don't know what they lived through in their childhood. You don't know any of that. So once you start to judge them, oh, you should know better. Don't put your feet on your couch. Didn't your mom ever teach you that, right? Like, you can go into whole judgment mode. Oh my God, how dare you wipe your hands on that couch? You know, like, you can really go to a bad place, right? So if you can focus on just assuming that they are doing the best that they can, then it keeps you out of that negative judgment, self-righteousness aspect of thinking. So in conclusion, if you assume that people are not doing the best they can, then you start going down that road of judgment, just like I said, judgment and self-righteousness. And you start making up other stories in your head. I can't believe, how were they brought up? What is going on with them? Oh my gosh, right? So it just breaks the monotony, right? You just say, nope, I'm going to assume that they're doing the best they can with what they have, with the tools that they know today, and I'm going to move on. And I'm going to focus on me and what I need to take care of, and not focus on them, right? Like, I'm going to go on with my life, they're going to go on with their life. They're doing the best they can with what they have and what they've known and what they've been through and the trauma that they've had in their life. So it's talking more about, digging deep on the judgment issues that you have with people, or the self-righteousness that you have, or the boundaries that you didn't set, or the forgiveness that you did not forgive, right? Those are those trigger emotions, right? All of those make you in the rumble, right? How do you listen to that story and try and get out of that story and tell a new story about, I am more forgiving, and I'm going to be a kinder person, and I'm going to get up and try again every single day to be better than I was yesterday, right? All you can do is the best that you can do today, and you can be better tomorrow and the next day and the next day. So just think about what it is that's rumbling inside of you. What are those emotions that are bothering you, that are triggering you? And go do some journal work. Or like me, put it off and then say you're going to do it and then don't do it. And then say you're going to do it and don't do it. And then do it. And then come back to it and look at it again. And you're going to get triggered again and again and again until you kind of work through it. So know that this is an ongoing process. Get excited about that. It all makes us human. Anyway, I hope that was insightful for you today, and I hope that you learned something from that. And don't forget, I am a medium as well. So if you want to connect with your loved ones, sign up for an appointment. Go to stephanieleemedium.com. Thanks. Bye.